Rod Laver isn't just a name that gets thrown around out of respect for history. He's still the only player in tennis to win the calendar Grand Slam twice, once as an amateur in 1962 and again as a pro in 1969. That alone cements him in a different category. People call him the Rocket because he played at a speed and intensity that was unheard of in his time. Laver didn't rely on one shot. He had the full package. Left-handed serve with bite, topspin forehand that forced errors, and a net game sharp enough to shut down rallies instantly. Even in an era where wooden rackets limited power, he created angles that looked futuristic. What makes his GOAT case so strong is that he straddled two different worlds, amateur tennis and the emerging professional circuit, and dominated both. Whenever someone says greatest ever, Laver's name still gets mentioned because he actually did what everyone else chases, winning them all in the same year more than once. Drop your pick for the best GOAT in tennis history in the comments and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the list. If tennis had a rock star in the late 70s, it was Bjorn Borg. He walked onto the court like an iceberg, hairband holding back long blonde hair and barely showing emotion no matter what happened. But underneath that cool exterior, his game was electric. Borg was the first to make baseline grinding look glamorous. Heavy topspin forehands, relentless backhands, and stamina that wore opponents down point after point. He won 6 French Opens and 5 straight Wimbledons between 1976 and 1980, a feat so remarkable that defined him as untouchable on 2 totally different surfaces. People often point to the 1980 Wimbledon final against John McEnroe, one of the most famous matches ever, as the peak of tennis. Borg won in 5 sets, showing that ice-cold focus could outlast even McEnroe's fire. What's wild is he retired at just 26 with 11 majors. If he had kept going, the record books might look completely different today. Before the era of massive prize money and global TV audiences, Billie Jean King carved her place as both a champion and a pioneer. On the court, she won 39 Grand Slam titles across singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. She was quick, aggressive, and always willing to attack the net. Her rivalry with Margaret Court lit up women's tennis in the 60s and 70s, but what elevated King into GOAT status wasn't just her athletic skill, it was her role in transforming the sport. The Battle of the Sexes match against Bobby Riggs in 1973 remains one of the most watched tennis events ever. King didn't just win that match, she proved to millions that women's tennis deserved respect. She also pushed for equal prize money, laying the foundation for the sport's growth. In terms of style, King was never the biggest hitter, but she was smart, tactical, and fearless. The combination of champion results and cultural impact makes her one of the most influential GOATs in the game. Navratilova's dominance wasn't about one season or one surface, it stretched over decades. She ended her career with 18 Grand Slam singles titles. But what really tells the story is her 31 major doubles titles, which makes her the most complete champion the women's game has seen. She was aggressive in every sense. Left-handed serve and volley, quick to the net, taking time away from her opponents before they even settled into rallies. Her fitness and athleticism also pushed the sport forward. She trained like no other woman of her time, treating tennis like a full physical commitment rather than just a game. Beyond the court, her confidence and openness about who she was made her a cultural figure too. She was redefining what it looked like to dominate a professional sport as a woman. And she did it across singles, doubles, and mixed doubles, which few even attempt anymore. One word defines Steffi Graf's career: versatility. She could dominate on clay, grass, or hard court, which is why she pulled off something no one else in tennis has ever done. The Golden Slam in 1988. That's all 4 majors plus the Olympic gold medal in the same year. Graf had a forehand that sliced through opponents like a blade, paired with a precise backhand slice that changed the rhythm of rallies instantly. She was fast, she was consistent, and she was ruthless in closing out matches once she got momentum. Her 22 major titles stood as the record in women's tennis until Serena overtook it. But even beyond the numbers, Graf's style of play aged perfectly. Many modern players still model their games on her mix of attacking forehands and tactical slices. Add to that her quiet, disciplined personality, and she stood out in an era when flashier rivals tried to rattle her. Graf let her results do the talking, and those results spoke loudly. Few careers were as explosive and as tragically interrupted as Monica Seles's. She burst onto the scene in the early 90s, winning 8 Grand Slam titles before the age of 20. Her two-handed forehand and backhand weren't just unusual, they were devastating. She hit the ball early, took time away from opponents, and played with aggression that made her nearly unbeatable. In fact, from 1991 to 1993, She won 7 out of 9 majors. Her rivalry with Steffi Graf was set to define the decade until her career was derailed by the shocking on-court stabbing incident in 1993. Even after returning, she managed to win another major, showing resilience, but her dominance never fully came back. Still, her impact is undeniable. Seles changed the pace of the women's game, proving that young players could take over with fearlessness and raw power. Without that incident, it's fair to ask, how many more majors could she have added to her total? When you think of Sampras, you think of the serve. It was the backbone of his game, a smooth, almost effortless motion that delivered power and placement like no one else at the time. He built his career on grass and hard courts, winning 14 Grand Slam singles titles, including 7 Wimbledons. What separated Sampras was how he kept things simple. Hold serve, attack second serves, close points at the net. No theatrics, no extended rallies unless necessary. He had a laser-like focus in finals, especially at the US Open where he won 5 times. Sampras's consistency and mental strength under pressure were his trademarks. In the 90s, he set the bar so high that people genuinely believed his record of 14 majors would never be broken. Of course, history moved on, but for a whole decade, Sampras was the standard everyone measured against. Federer is the player who made tennis look like art. The elegance of his game is what hooked millions of fans who might never have cared about tennis otherwise. From the one-handed backhand that curled through impossible angles to his serve that seemed effortless yet effective, Federer made the hardest shots look casual. He spent 310 weeks ranked number 1 and won 20 majors, but what made him different was the way he adapted. He could glide across grass, grind on hard courts, and even reinvent himself to compete with Nadal and Djokovic deep into his 30s. His rivalry with Nadal, especially at Wimbledon and the Australian Open, is what defined an era, but Federer also had his own aura. He carried himself with composure, charisma, and a sense of style that turned him into tennis's global ambassador. When people call him the GOAT, it's not just for the numbers. It's because he made tennis feel like more than a sport. He made it beautiful. If Federer was elegant, Nadal was raw force and grit. His legacy begins on clay, where he became nearly unbeatable. 14 French Open titles is a number that doesn't even sound real. Year after year, he crushed opponents at Roland-Garros, sliding across the red dirt like it was his personal stage. But reducing Nadal to just clay would be a mistake. He won all 4 majors, stacking up 22 Grand Slam titles, and what made him remarkable was how he fought through matches with sheer determination. His forehand, loaded with topspin, kicked higher than anyone could comfortably handle. His relentless defense forced opponents to play extra shots they didn't want to hit. Add the trademark sleeveless shirts, the bandana, and the ritualistic ticks before every serve, and you had a player who embodied intensity. Off the court, Nadal is humble, grounded, almost shy in demeanor. On the court, he's the warrior who never gave away a single point without a fight. That duality is why fans adore him and why players fear him. Djokovic is the definition of complete. He can play baseline defense like Nadal, flatten shots like Federer, and serve with precision when the pressure peaks. His return of serve might be the greatest weapon the sport has ever seen, flipping rallies against big servers before they even begin. What separates him, though, is his ability to dominate across every surface and every stage. He holds the record for 24 Grand Slam singles titles, the most in history. He's also the only man to have won all 4 majors at least 3 times, something even Federer and Nadal never did. Djokovic thrives on pressure. When crowds root against him, he feeds off it. When opponents think they've got him down, he finds another level. His flexibility, his movement, his ability to turn defense into offense in one shot, it's unique. Personality-wise, he can be polarizing. Some see him as fiery, even controversial at times, but that edge is part of what fuels him. In the argument of GOATs, Djokovic has the stats and the longevity to claim the top spot, even if the debate will never truly end. Murray might not have the same major count as Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic, but his place among the greats is secure. Competing in the toughest era of men's tennis, he won 3 Grand Slam titles and reached 11 finals, a feat made more impressive by the quality of rivals he faced. He won 2 Olympic gold medals, which no other member of the Big Four can claim. Murray's game was built on counterpunching brilliance, defensive mastery, and the ability to turn rallies into chess matches. His backhand, especially down the line, was world-class. Beyond the game, his dedication to Great Britain's Davis Cup victory and his role in ending a 77-year wait for a British Wimbledon champion gave him legendary status at home. His career was also defined by resilience in the face of injuries. Even after hip surgery that seemed career-ending, Murray fought his way back onto the tour. That determination to keep competing even against younger generations underlines why many consider him a GOAT in spirit, if not by raw numbers. And that's the beauty of tennis history. Every era had its own giant, its own GOAT, shaped by the game and the times. Serena didn't just dominate women's tennis, she rewrote the playbook. Her power game was unlike anything the women's circuit had seen when she burst onto the scene in the late 90s. That serve, clocked as one of the fastest and most consistent ever, set the tone. Her ground strokes punished opponents, her athleticism stretched rallies, and her mental toughness closed matches that looked lost. 23 Grand Slam singles titles tell the story of longevity and dominance. But her impact is bigger than the numbers. Serena brought a new level of physicality and aggression to women's tennis. She broke through stereotypes. She drew in fans beyond the tennis bubble. And she became a cultural icon. Whether it was her comeback wins, her fashion statements on court, or her presence as an outspoken athlete, Serena's name will always sit at the top tier of the GOAT conversation. And when you rewatch her matches, especially the finals she won under massive pressure, you see why. She had the rare ability to seize control of the biggest stages without hesitation.